Hi everyone. We're very delighted to have you with us here today. My name is Alon. I'm a faculty member at Tel Aviv University and also the head of the International MA program in environmental studies. Um, so we're very happy to have you with us today in this webinar from starting at 7 p.m. local time until 8. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about the international program, but first we'll have a lecture given by Professor Ram Fishman, who is the head of the New Environmental School. And afterwards, I'll be presenting the new international MA program. I also have with me Tami and Dani, Professor Dani Rabinovich and Professor Tami Onen, who are heads of tracks in the program. And you could also have follow-up questions with them afterwards. So we'll start with Professor Ram Fishman, who will talk about global water challenges. So you could all have an understanding a little bit of the challenges that we're facing and what some of the solutions that are offered that we provide in our training, in our program, in the international program. So the floor is yours, Professor Ram.
You're muted, Ram.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. Is the slide visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'll start off with just a short presentation, 10-15 minutes, about the topic of global water scarcity and what we can do about it. And I will focus on things that there's a lot of research on water scarcity. I will focus a little bit on things, on the kind of studies and projects in which you might end up being involved in as part of this MA program. One of the unique things about this program is that we invite students who are enrolled to actively participate in very impactful projects in the field, in the real world, and therefore to have not just to gain very, very valuable and unique experience, but also to have a real impact even while you're still in school, which is something that I don't think there are many programs in the world that provide in the terms of these kinds of opportunities. So the topic is global water scarcity. What is actually global water scarcity? This is a map of the world which shows you an assessment of the parts of the world where water is becoming more and more scarce. The red colors indicate places in which um, humans already use the majority of the water that is naturally and sustainably available in that location. Okay, so any place that has a red color, the darker the red indicates that we are closer to using all the water that is available sustainably in that location every year. And you can see that that is becoming a huge, very widespread problem around the world. Um, and as economies grow, there's more and more demand for water. And so this pressure is going to just increase. And it becomes a real concern about what will happen to agriculture and to food production as water becomes more and more scarce. Why are we focusing on agriculture? Well, just because agriculture is the one sector that is most dependent on water availability for irrigation. More than 80 and sometimes even 90% of all the water that we use goes to irrigating crops. And of course, drinking water is a huge issue, but that's not so much a problem of scarcity and more a problem of pollution and quality. Here we are talking about the fact that we just don't have enough water to irrigate our crops, which could mean that it could precipitate a crisis in our ability to provide enough food for the global population. And you can see that these locations cover a lot of different, they're all over, almost every continent has areas which suffer from water scarcity. But the concentration, we see a few areas where really the scarcity is really concentrated. We see South Asia, India and Pakistan are there. Some parts of the Middle East, of course, where we are. Iran is a real, very, very intensive hotspot of scarcity. North China. but also some parts of Europe and some parts of the United States, where I am right now in California and Mexico, similar issues. So the question is, what can we do about this? How can we manage with more scarcer and scarcer water to actually be able to sustain agriculture and food production? The good news about this issue is that agronomists, people who are experts in agricultural technology, tell us that there are many technologies we can use to grow the same amount of food with much less water. In other words, there are technologies, there are ways to grow food which can be much more efficient in terms of water or in irrigation, in terms of irrigation, so that even so the idea is that if farmers around the world would start to apply these technologies, then they would be able to manage with much less water. They would be able to use less water and to conserve water, reduce the demand, the extraction of water from rivers, lakes, aquifers, and therefore be able to solve this problem and use water more sustainably. So in that sense, from a technological perspective, the problem is more or less solved. The problem is that how do you get farmers around the world to actually use these technologies and adapt them? And there is a consensus that the key to solving the crisis is that the widespread adoption of these technologies by farmers around the world. But what is not clear is how do you actually get these farmers to adopt these technologies? And that is more of a social science kind of challenge. It is not so much technological challenge at this point because many technologies are available. It is more an issue about what kind of economic incentives or behavioral interventions or policies government should pursue to get farmers to adopt it. What kind of technologies are we talking about? There is a whole range. First of all, there is idea that many parts of the world farmers are just wasting water and can easily reduce some of the water that they use with no impact. There are also ways to shift the irrigation schedule, when I irrigate and how much, that could save water, and that should be pretty not involve any main cost for any major costs to farmers. Now, information communication technology, mobile phones, satellites are also coming into the picture, and all these apps are coming up that should be able to tell, that are claiming that they can tell farmers exactly how much they need to irrigate at every point in time. Of course, there is also the idea that is very familiar to us here in Israel, that water can be delivered to the crops much more efficiently through drip irrigation or sprinklers. And then we also talk about varieties of crops that require much less water and are equally productive. And another possibility is to shift crops from crops like rice or sugar cane, which is the main crop that Alon studies with his students. These crops take so much water, and there are other crops which require much less water to produce the same level of nutrition. So that could also be something that farmers could do to become more efficient in the use of water. And this is an agenda that is pushed by many governments around the world, including, for example, here, the Indian government. India is one of the countries most affected by water scarcity. It is a huge issue there. And the Indian government, through different subsidy programs, tries to incentivize farmers to use, for example, drip irrigation as a way of saving 40-50% in water. Okay, and you see here one of the promotional posters for this program. The real issue is, though, from our perspective, and from a social scientific perspective, is that many of the hotspots of water scarcity around the world are areas where agriculture is conducted not by big industrial farms, but hundreds of millions of small-scale farmers, each of them cultivating maybe a hectare or two, very small farms. These are actually some of the poorest people still on the planet. They have low income. Their agriculture is not technologically advanced. They are subject to all kinds of economic and social constraints. And those farmers, particularly, we know as economists who studied developing countries, these are farmers who find it very difficult to adapt many kinds of improved technologies. There are so many examples of technologies that agronomists say could improve their profits, and yet we see these farmers are not really adapting them because they don't have access to loans, because they're not able to take the risk, They don't have, the markets don't give them good prices on their produce. So this is a whole huge challenge to get small farmers to adapt improved technologies. And because of that, it is also hard to get them to adapt water saving technologies. Not only are they do they face all kinds of constraints to invest in technologies, but also they have little incentive to save water because water is something that belongs to everybody, and it's hard to expect people to make individual to spend their own money and own effort on something that helps the public. This is what we call in economics the tragedy of the commons and in sociology. And it's a pervading issue for all um, uh, environmental issues. So imagine a farmer like the one we see here in the picture. This is a farmer who grows wheat in the Indian state of Gujarat, where many of our studies were conducted. And as you can see, this farmer has access to water, but the way he irrigates his field is by flooding it. This is what most Indian farmers do. And it is very inefficient. It wastes a lot of water. And what is the paradox is that this farmer does it even though he has to pump his water, that the water has become so depleted in this place because of all this overuse that the water level is very deep. It's 200 feet below the surface. So this farmer and many others like him pump water from way deep and then use it so inefficiently. Why? How do we understand this behavior? And it's important to understand it because this is farmer is one of 100 million farmers around India who have their own wells and collectively use huge amounts of water, which are creating this water crisis. And they are not adapting these water conserving technologies that agronomists are telling us are available to them. So the question is why? And how can we get more farmers in India to make the shift, like this farmer in this picture in the state of Andhra Pradesh, who, as you can see, has just installed drip irrigation in his field? How can we get more farmers to move to the adoption of these kinds of technologies through public policy and to make sure that they use these technologies to actually conserve and save water? That's the overarching question that our research studies. And there is this is a topic of very intense discussion with some people having different ideologies, different opinions about what should be done. Some people feel that the physical depletion of water by itself will get farmers to adapt water conserving technologies, and therefore there is no need for any government intervention. That is one theory. Another theory that economists usually advocate that pricing water is the way to go. The problem is that farmers don't pay the full price of water, and that's true in most parts of the world. Israel is an outlier, actually, where the farmers do have to pay for water, but most places around the world, there is no price and no regulation of water use. So many economists feel that if the governments would charge farmers for water, they would actually use it more efficiently. Another approach that actually politicians prefer, rather than pricing water, they prefer to give farmers subsidies in order to incentivize them to adopt these technologies. And another approach that is more dominant in the sociology community is that we can actually train farmers as a community to collectively manage these resources, inspired by the work of Nobel laureate Elinor Ostrom. So these are very different philosophies and opinions and ideologies about what governments should do. And the amazing thing is that we have very, very little evidence by which to actually evaluate which of these is actually most cost effective in the real world on the ground. That is where we come in as researchers. As researchers, we study and do all kinds of field studies and experiments to try to understand on the ground with farmers what determines which choices they make and what kind of policies will actually be effective. So I don't have time to go through all of this with you, but I will just mention quickly two studies. One was around drip irrigation, where we actually did an experiment with hundreds of farmers and provided them with extra subsidy to make it easy for them to adapt the technology. And we found that it helped them to adapt the technology, but it ended up not saving any water because whatever water the farmers saved, they actually delivered to other farmers around them. So they did become more efficient in water save in using water, but they did not reduce their overall pumping and so they did not slow down the depletion of the aquifers. Another study, which was basically led by students who were in this very program, one of the students that did the same master's you are considering started this during his master's, then continued to a PhD, and is now leading a field study with 400 farmers, in which for the first time ever he tried to incentivize farmers to use a method of irrigating rice, which monitors the level of water in the flooded rice plots in order to save water. This is a very reputable method that's supposed to save 30% of water, but farmers are not using it. And this student, Dan, who you can see in the red shirt in the picture, led a whole local team with our local partners to study whether simple incentives could actually get farmers to save water for the first time, to use this method. And for the first time, he implemented this, and he found that in a randomized control trial, his approach had a big impact and was very successful in getting farmers to save water. And this is the first time anybody is ever doing it in this context. So just to give you a little bit of inspiration of what you can actually, what kind of studies you can actually get involved in this program, and how much of an impact you can have if you're willing to work hard and really push yourself both intellectually and in terms of actual effort and field work. So let me end here. I ran out of time, and thank you. I hope to see more of you next year.
Thank you so much, Ram. What I'll do now is I'll present the international program very shortly, and then we'll open it up to questions. You could ask any questions, logistics or course-wise or anything else, and we're all here to answer your questions. Okay, so again, my name is Alon, and I'm the head of the program of the International MA in Environmental Studies. It's a joint program of the New Environmental School and the School of the Social and Policy Studies. I think the first question that one should ask is why, who is this program for? Why, and what is so unique and special about it? So I think this program is for people who want to change the world, people who want to make economy and societies thrive and be prosperous, but at the same time make sure that we're within planetary boundaries. In this sense, I think this program is really encouraging people to become environmental leaders. So if you think of changing the world and becoming an environmental leader, this is certainly a program for you. And in this sense, I feel that this program is really training the next generations of leaders to solve real life environmental problems. So why choose our international program? It has, I think, very unique features. Ram mentioned a few of them. I'll mention others. It's a one-year accelerated program over 3 semesters. You get to study with local and international students. So you get a mix of very interesting people from various different backgrounds. You get to interact with our faculty and real-world practitioners of environmental issues. There's close to 150 faculty members throughout the university that deal with environmental issues one way or another, and you could certainly engage with them during your studies. Our program has a mix of theory, hands-on fieldwork, which Ram showed you is also internship. So it's a very, very unique blend that you don't only sit in class, but you also go out in the field, or you write position papers or policy papers, or do real, try to solve real problems in the world. And what's also interesting, what's also unique, I think very unique is that after this year, you could immediately continue on to doing another year of thesis track if you're up to it, if you want to do that, but it's not mandatory, but this option exists for you. So what will you learn? We have 3 tracks, really super interesting and amazing tracks that bring together programs from around the campus. The first one is in environmental entrepreneurship and management. This is a new track. It leverages the startup nation of Israel and the kind of high-tech ecosystem to really come up with technological solutions for environmental problems. The second track is a sustainable development that is the nexus of society and environment, and it has an emphasis on community engagement and international development. And our third track is the social aspects of climate change, and that brings together the social and political aspects of the climate crisis and focuses on mitigation, adaptation, and governance. So what would you learn? Um, you could see that basically your the coursework is divided into three bulks. Um, the first one is 18 credit points, which is the basis. And all of you together in this program will learn it together. Uh, and it's a background introduction to a lot of the environmental issues and challenges and all the various disciplines that we think are very, very crucial to tackle these environmental problems. It also includes field trips and a colloquium. The second bulk is an elective courses. That's where you actually move on to your new track, one of the three tracks that I mentioned before. You do around 12 credit points for that track. And then you kind of deepen in all the relative courses and fieldwork that are associated with this specific track. And the last eight credit points are seminars or fieldwork that are um, connected to these track that you're in. And this is where you really get to experience real life work in the field or hands-on experience in solving real world problems. Let me give you a very brief kind of intro to these tracks so you can get some understanding. The Sustainable Development track is really an interdisciplinary track that brings together social sciences, psychology, engineering, economics, policy. It combines classwork, but also experimental learning and fieldwork in various parts of the world. It focuses on the agriculture, water, and energy nexus, but also brings together technology and behavior to understand people and solutions in specific contexts in specific places in the world. And this track is headed by Tami, who's with us, and you could certainly ask questions afterwards if you have for her. And she knows this track very well and can answer them better than me. Just to give you an example of a typical fieldwork in action. So in Sao Paulo, four students spent 2 months working on various different topics that you have, and you can see them here, into very marginalized communities, focusing on, for example, on dengue control, testing Israeli technologies in specific vector-borne diseases, developing math apps for these children in these communities, monitoring water quality to try and ensure safe supply for those people, and also assessing decentralized wastewater solutions for these people in these favelas in Sao Paulo. So this is an example of a fieldwork that could be done in the sustainable development track. The second track is the social aspects of climate policy. Again, it's also an interdisciplinary track that brings social sciences, economy, and policy. Again, very practical, combines classroom teaching and experimental learning and working on policies and internship in various different organizations. It blends, of course, climate change and policy together, but also focuses on collective action and behavior, which are pivotal in understanding how to mobilize and change climate policy towards better outcomes. The head of this track is Professor Dani Rabinovich, who's also here with us, and follow-up questions are very much appreciated. Here is an example of an assignment a student did in this track, Neta. She analyzed the various different archetypes of attitudes of people towards climate change here in Israel. And she found, for example, on the left-hand side, people who are worried, concerned, cautious, indifferent, skeptic, and dismissive. So it's actually creating this gradient moving from high belief to lower belief and where the population sort of like distributes. And of course, these types of work are very, very important to understand what types of policy could really mobilize people into change and understanding the people and people's attitude towards climate change. Our third track is a new track, environmental entrepreneurship and management track. Again, interdisciplinary, focuses on the business and private sector, on management, innovation, and the high-tech ecosystem in Israel. Again, to find innovation and technological solutions that could be upscaled to have global impact. The head of the track is Professor Ram Fishman, and if you're interested, you could ask questions to him and to me after I finish with this presentation. Another example is of one of the courses that you'll be taking is the field trip course. It takes all students to various different places in Israel to understand environmental challenges and to come up with practical solutions. And here you see one of the classes in a visit uh, outside of the school. And so these are the types of courses that we also give here that are very, very interesting and give you a broad range of understanding of the challenges and, of course, what types of solutions we can come up with. So if you're interested, so how can you apply? Um, so we accept anyone with any bachelor degree as long as he or she has a GPA of 80 plus and proof in English proficiency. We ask that you send along when you apply your CV and a statement of purpose, and you add 2 recommendation letters. And if you're fit, we'll interview you and see whether you can join our program. In terms of costs and funding, you see here, this is the price for tuition for international students. For Israeli, the tuition is calculated based on an accelerated 1-year master's. But there's opportunities for finance from Fulbright, Massa, our international school. They all provide scholarships that you should look into, and hopefully that could help in terms of funding. And there's also an assistance for newcomers to Israel from the Israeli Student Authority. Our program provides various different background and tools for people to pursue different career pathways. Our grads over the years ended up in being sustainability consultants, working in NGOs and civil society, going to academia and focusing on research, working on urban planning, or in the private sector at startups, or working in organizations on issues such as CSRs or ESGs to be leaders of sustainability within these organizations. Here you can see some of what our past students think about this program and the community that we build around. And you can see also 2 alumni of our program working in the field in these various different things related to environment. Maya was working in a high-tech company and focusing on being on an ESG manager, and Sidak, who ended up being a professor in India after being in our program. So thank you for taking the time and good luck. And we really, really hope to see you next year with us. And if you have questions, we're all here to answer them for you. Lee, do you want to help me
We'll
manage all the
go
questions?
first what we have here in the chat. I see Alexandra. When is the due date to apply to the program? So this one I can answer. I would say the application is open until almost the start of the year. But if you need visa, this process can take a few weeks to a few months, and that's why we recommend to apply as early as possible, not wait until. Next question. That's all the questions I see in the chat, and now we can see over here. I see Jackson is raising his hand.
Yes, I'm Jackson Bukole. I'm from Liberia, but I'm currently in Israel doing research at Volcano Institute. I started my application for quite some time now, and I'm still working on it. So I'm thinking if do I need to return to my home country before starting the visa process? Because I'm in Israel up to September. Let's say October. Yeah, because my visa expires October. So
Yes.
if I'm
So
accepted, do I have to return to my country before applying for visa, or I can
I would
just leave
say
it here?
first we have a visa team in the international school that can provide the exact information. From what I know, you do need to apply for a visa from your home country. So that means you need to go back. But I recommend that if you want, you contact me and I can connect you with our visa team.
Okay, I will need your email, please. Thank you.
Yes, next one, I see Hastings.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Hastings Banda. I am from Malawi, the southern part of Africa. I'm interested in the course, and I take this webinar so informative. And thank you so much for organizing this. I have two questions. The first one is about the internship, which you mentioned to be part of the program. Do the institution facilitate finding an institution where you can do your internship, or is it the student that search for a place to do the internship? That's my first question. My second question is about the three tracks which the program is offering. Should we is it that we can indicate in the application, or you choose when you are there? How do you what do you recommend? And the lastly, the support. I understand that you when you are applying, you are supposed to pay an application fee. I just want to understand if there's a possibility of a waiver, for instance, for those students that cannot be able to find the application fee to pay. And also that is linked to the scholarships provided for this program. What are the chances that I'll have the scholarship? For instance, if I'm admitted, will I know before joining the institution, or I have to be there actually to apply for the scholarships? Thank you. And off.
You want to answer about the internship first, Alon?
Yeah, so the internship is, of course, related to the track that you'll be in, and you'll have all the assistance of Dani and Tommy there when you build your program and your kind of track. So it's not something that you need to come up with yourself. It's something that is part of your studies, and it's a match between the organization and yourself. So definitely you'll get aid in doing that. What was the second question I now missed? In terms of the third one, I remember the fee. I'm not aware of any wavering of the fee. To my knowledge, Lee, correct me if I'm wrong. It's something that is procedural and something that you need to do. And there was also questions about scholarships, whether that could be notified in advance. I don't know. I
I
guess,
can answer that.
yeah.
First of all, the international school has on his website a lot of details about scholarships that again, you are welcome to email me and I will send you. You can go over and look for a scholarship that is suitable for you. I would say there is one scholarship that is mentioned, the Low International School Scholarship, which is open to all students in the international school. So this is something that you can, after you are accepted to the program, you can apply, and it's not limited by any criteria.
Okay, next question. I think there are some questions
Yes,
in
there
the
are
chat.
some on the chat. Let me see, just a second. Do you provide assistance with the visa application? As I said, we have a visa team that can give information and help. But the process has to be made by you. I see Ariel that we met is asking, can you speak a bit about the food security track? Is it still an option? Or how can we integrate that specialty into the program?
Okay, so there's no focused food security track, but you can find food security and food systems in all the different tracks that you choose. If you focus on climate change, you could have a focus there on food system within that track. If you have a sustainable development track, you can find solutions and work on specific projects that address food security. So it's actually embedded across all the various different aspects. But there's no dedicated food security track, if that was the question.
If I can add a word here,
Yes,
Alon.
please.
In the climate change track, the internships habitually include organizations that have to do with food and food security. So what we do in the beginning of the first semester, beginning of the academic year, we bring in between 10 and 15 different organizations to present themselves and then match them with students. And for the last 3 years, every year, we've had either 2 or 3 and 1 year 4 students who are actually matched with organizations that have to do with food security, food waste, food and inequality as something related to climate change. So as Alon was saying, in all of the tracks, food and food security is present.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Chris Pine, regarding the tuition, is it paying installments? Yes, you can pay in installments. What is the amount of the first installment? I don't remember. I think it's 1,500, but around that amount. Another question. I already applied for MA Sustainable Development. When I'm going to get a reply? You currently live in Poland? From Poland. Nelson, I think usually it takes a few weeks to get an answer, but I don't know what is the status of your application, so I will have to check it. And
I didn't see anything. I
Ah,
didn't see anything about this application, so maybe you can check it. It's not with
yes,
me. Yeah.
I will check and we'll let you know. Is there a link to register online? you can email me and I will send you. It's not a link to register. I will send you a link to the application portal, and there you do all the process. Emily, do you need to find an advisor ahead of applying if you want to do a thesis track, or can you decide that and then find them during the first year?
Yeah, so if you want to continue, Emily, to the thesis track, you don't need to find an advisor immediately. I think it's somewhere during the second semester, or I think towards the end of the second semester, that you need to find an advisor and then start working with him or her towards writing an application, writing a very the first a few pages about what you plan to do and sending it to us, and then we approve it, and then you can continue to the second year. But it doesn't have to be something immediately.
May I add something?
Of course.
In sustainable development, what we do is people start working on the project, right? During the first semester. Most people write the thesis around the project. So everyone conduct a project. Those that their work during the first semester and the beginning of the second one can develop into a study more than the project, can already do this thesis as part of the project. So you don't have to worry about it. It goes, we lead it during the work with you in the first semester. Yeah.
Perfect.
The next question we have from Jean and Alexandra. Is the program suitable for experienced mid-career professionals from infrastructure or government sectors who want to transition into sustainability-related international fields?
Absolutely. Maybe Tommy and Danny want to add something. I think I've never heard such a question, but I think it's absolutely
I
fits.
think everyone can take it to wherever they want. We teach the basic, but part of what we would like to do, we offer several things or projects that we're involved in. But it's okay with us that everyone will take the basic theoretical skills project relating to sustainable development to their own expertise. So from my standpoint, it can be everything: government, transportation, education, psychology, with the same base that we teach you.
I will add here that in the climate change track, we regularly get people in mid-career who are seeking either a transition to sustainable development or to work with environmentalism, or are already engaged in the field but want to expand some of their theoretical and practical experience. So I would say that between 25 and 40%, depending on the year, are people in this stage of their developmental career.
Perfect. Lee, next question.
Yes. How is the admission chance for someone with a pass in bachelor's degree of science in agriculture in relation to the 80 to 100 grade? Okay, so I will explain that we have in our registration, we have a team that evaluates your degree, what you need, and determines also your grade. So you only need to send me your transcript, diploma, and we get it evaluated. And I don't know what's the equivalent of a pass, but this is something that we will check and let you know. I also wrote my email in the chat. I will send it again for everyone. So everyone with a question that we didn't answer are welcome to email me. Okay. I think, Nelson, we answered your question. So email me and we'll check. Emily, are there more class titles we can review to get more of a sense of the class offering and tracks? Currently, we don't have, as the course catalog, or in Hebrew we call it Yedion, is published around June. So around June, we will be able to share the full curriculum with all the classes, and you can review them.
Lee, maybe you can put in my email, because as far as the climate change track is concerned, we know the courses, and at least a selection I can send syllabi and titles. So
Okay.
I encourage Emily and anybody else to write to me, and I can send you the information in the return email.
Okay. If I choose to proceed to second year to do a full thesis, will I graduate with the same master's degree as is the case if I may just do 1 year? If you continue to do a thesis, then you will receive a thesis degree. If you complete just the 1 year, you get the non-thesis degree. On the thesis part, is there possibility of bringing MA Environmental Studies with architecture or housing and infrastructure development?
Of
Alon?
course. Yes, of course. If you pursue a thesis and you want to focus on one of those directions, you'll need to find an advisor in one of those subjects that has a connection to sustainability and environment, and then pursue a thesis in that directions. Yes, absolutely.
We did have several people coming from architect in the past and for the coming year also. Yeah.
Okay, one more question from Chin. One of my duties is to manage urban storm water sewer systems, which is relevant to climate change and extreme weather. However, I have no work experience in agriculture, so I would like to know whether this program has courses for this area.
Well, not specific tailor-made for stormwater and sewer system. We are, after all, collaborating with the engineering department, but not.
Hey, Angela, how are you?
But not specifically concerned with that. However, sea level rise and urban aspects of climate change, as well as the relationship between climate change and building design and civil engineering, is something that we touch upon, not on a technical level, but rather in our approach to social aspects of infrastructure, which is a growth area in the social sciences. People have belatedly discovered that civil engineering and civil infrastructure is also a social network. So we deal with that as well.
Okay, Abigail, I have a background in homelessness prevention and community organizing. I want to get a degree that will help me work in communities, helping them unify over making their neighborhoods more sustainable. Is the sustainable development track good for this, or should I be looking at another type of degree?
Tami?
Wait. I don't really know how to respond to it, but in general, whatever you do, that you have to study whatever the program propose, and there is nothing on homelessness or what you have mentioned. But if you'd like to take the courses, the guidance, the supervision to the area that you would like to develop, it's okay with us. We will try to find someone that can supervise you. I, for example, come from social work, so I know what you're talking about relating to homelessness, but um, we encourage people to find whatever interests them, but we can't guarantee that we're expert in leading thesis or project. We try to do our best or find people that are specific expert in this area. If you come with the idea of what you would like to do in your area with sustainable development, we will try to help.
Okay, thank you. Uh, Sorry, it's jumping just a second. Hello, I'm from Uganda, but ever been in Israel under the agro studies program? Can this diploma in agro studies be of any added advantage when applying for this master's program?
So I'm not sure what is added advantage. If you have a bachelor's in any, we accept a bachelor degree in any field as a prerequisite. I don't think it's an added advantage in that sense. Again, some people have come with bachelor degrees in environmental studies in various different universities, so it might help them in taking various different classes. They do have some background, which makes it easy in some particular cases. But again, this is a master's program. We take it higher to a deeper and more higher level. And in that sense, it could provide some advantage in some of them, maybe some of the coursework, but it's not, it's not a must in any way.
Okay, and now a question, do you offer more webinars in environmental science?
Webinars like this one for the international program. Well, we encourage you to come and study with us full time, and you could hear us all the time talk about our research. Um, and there's a lot of people doing excellent and super interesting work, research, and field work related to environmental problems and issues. So you're more than welcome to come and experience it firsthand.
And if we have another one, we will let you know. What is the minimum number of years that you consider when checking for experience to consider an applicant?
Experience? Experience in what?
We don't ask for experience. We
Yes,
don't have any prerequisite beside the rate, the degree you received before, and the grade you had before, and the ability to talk English. All the rest, we teach you whatever you need to know. We don't base on other studies.
exactly.
Right. I think it's the last question. Adva, is the course provide information in regards to impact and protection of the natural environment and species diversity, as well as social impact?
So I don't remember if we have a specific course on biodiversity or nature conservation, but definitely as this is not part of the core, but as one of your electives, you could certainly take one of those courses that are offered in the life sciences. So yes, definitely that could be part of your coursework. It's not part of the core, I think, right? We don't have ecology anymore in our coursework. But if you could take that as part of your electives, and certainly gain more experience in that. We have a lot of scholars here in the university, also in the Natural History Museum, that focus on biodiversity and nature conservation.
Thank you.
Uh, So we just hope to see you all in the
Yeah,
future here in Israel. Yeah.
all of you, all of you who registered here are more than welcome.
Thank you so
So
much.
any last questions before our time ends?
I have a comment. I'm
Yes.
Gloria
Hi,
Amu
Gloria.
from Ghana. I'm a student of BGU, and I wanted to thank you so much for the insight that you shared. The program is very interesting. I've sent you, Alan, an email because I have a question that I don't think it's appropriate for this platform. But thank you so much for the insight that you shared in your faculty. It's very interesting. Really, we're grateful.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Gloria.
you.
Okay, so I think we can wrap it up.
Mhm.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we're really looking forward to seeing you next year with us. And have a good night or day wherever you are in the world.
Good night. Bye bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Great program. Good night or
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Kol hakavod.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Bye.
Is there an online link to register?
To the program?
Yeah.
Email me and I will send you. I will,
Okay.
yeah,
I have your email, Lee.
great.
Thank you. Kol hakavod. Bye.
תודה.
In Badma.
Yes. Can you also send an email here?
My email?
Yeah.
Yes, just a second.
Her email's in the chat.
Right, but if you didn't,
Oh, okay.
Where are you coming from, Marshall?
I'm in Cold Spring, New York, on the Hudson River, north of New York City right now. And I'm heavily involved in the EU, having to do with biochar. That's why I asked that question. But also, I'm the co-chair of Working Group 3 for the EU Cost Action on Biochar. I'm also certified by the International Biochar Initiative. I've done a lot of projects around the world. We're doing projects around the world. And I think the more people learn about what you're bringing to the table, the better it will be and the easier it will be to adopt not only biochar, but understand how to use agriculture and ESG and all the sustainable things that you're teaching. So I support it. By the way, I did graduate Tel Aviv University.
Okay.
I have an undergraduate degree and I also went to law school, but I didn't finish there. I finished here in the United States. Uh, Tel Aviv University is a fantastic school. If you've ever been there, it's a great campus. All the professors there are wonderful, great people. I recommend everybody go there, sign up, get on board. This is one of the best universities in the world. I'm telling you.
Thank you,
I,
Marshall. I should have asked you to talk at the beginning
well, I
for this
didn't get in until that
promotional.
late. I got in a little bit late, but my apologies. But I'm telling you, Alon, Lee, and all the rest of your team, you did a great job. I really want to see this succeed. And anything I can do to help you, I will do that. I'm not a professor myself. I'm an adjunct at Edinburgh University with Dr. Sarah Sohi on the UK Biochar Center. And there's a lot of things we've done, and I'm more than happy to contribute to you guys. There's some great people in Israel that are doing biochar. One of them was a professor at Hebrew University. He's now got his own business. And so there's a lot going on. And I think Israel is on the forefront of sustainability, and you guys can make a difference. I really, really thank you a lot for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Marshall, for the kind
Thank
words.
you.
Thank you so much.
And Lee, I will email you.
Great. Looking
Okay.
forward.
Thank you so much.
I got to run. Take care,
Take
everybody.
care.
Get on board for this. Do it. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hi, Professor. I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
We're just about to wrap up.
Okay.
What is your question?
The first presentation focuses on water scarcity. Water scarcity. I'd like to know if I can contribute to this program. I worked for the local Chinese government, and I have work experience in urban infrastructure construction. So, if this program mainly focuses on agriculture and water scarcity, I'd like to know if
The prog
this
the pro
program is suitable for me.
the program is not focused necessarily on water. Water is one of the problems, challenges across many different dimensions. Of course, if you are interested in pursuing water issues, then you can, like I mentioned, like I answered for someone about food security,
Mhm.
it's embedded across all the three different tracks. So if you are interested in water, you could certainly pursue a water challenge, and your mentors and advisors will direct you into focusing more on water issues. Okay, so it's really up to you where to focus and what and what discipline and what what problem to try and solve.
If I want to learn in the direction of transportation or urban planning and uh, stormwater reuse, recycle, if in this direction, which track I should apply for?
Water and what and transportation?
Yeah, what stormwater reuse
Again,
and transportation.
it depends on what direction you want to do. If you want to take it more on the policy and climate change, then you go into the climate and policy. If you want to focus on real world problems and like the sustainable development track and the projects that I've shown, for example, then go in that direction. If you want to develop a startup or talk about innovation and technological, then pursue that track. It really depends which one you want to take, and then you decide.
Mm. After graduation, can we have uh, internship to work in this area? If I can have the chance to learn in Israel, I need to resign from my current job. So I'd like to know if I can find an internship
I,
and
c-
develop the career in this
I
area.
can't, after the program ends, I can't guarantee anything for you
Mm,
in that sense. When you pursue your studies here, you
mm,
could do an internship related to your projects and interests, but after that program ends, I
mm,
can't guarantee anything. You'll need to apply to a visa. I don't know what you can
mm.
do in Israel. It's something that you need to find out. If you can stay and then pursue a career, that you're more than welcome. But it's not something that I can guarantee to you. You finish your master's program and then you can try to pursue your own career.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night. Good night.